You're doing fine, just a little more.
A battle-scarred alien should have leveled a city, yet someone stopped the blast with nothing but touch. And the impossible part? The one who steadied her wasn't a warrior, a captain, or a legend, just a human who refused to step back. If you want to know how that choice rewired 2 lives, tell me where you're watching from and subscribe. This story begins now. Flagstaff nights in 2091 carried strange music. Orbital truckers drank beside aliens whose names no human could pronounce. Veterans traded war stories that were probably lies. And in the corner of the old Cantina 1312, where the lights stayed dim and questions stayed unasked, Thariel Vascor drank alone. Nathan Hale noticed her before he took off his coat. Hard not to. She was tall, shoulders that could carry mountains, and bioluminescent tattoos that should have glowed but didn't. They looked dead. Like everything else about her screamed, "Both stay away and please. Someone see me." He wasn't there to drink. The bar was just his route after the night shift at Regional Trauma, the only place where silence didn't crush him, where he could sit and not see the faces of patients he couldn't save painted on every wall. The blood caught his eye first, dark against her gray olive skin, trickling slow from a gash on her forearm. Medical instinct kicked in before thought could stop it. He took 2 steps toward her table before seeing her eyes. Golden, but dead. The same look he'd seen on soldiers who'd survived too much. She noticed him noticing. Her shoulders tensed. Nathan stopped, respected the space, then did something that surprised them both. He reached into his bag, pulled out his emergency kit, and placed it on her table without a word. "In case you need it, that's all." He walked away before she could refuse, before she could tell him to mind his business, before he could make the same mistake he always made and push too hard. Behind him, Thariel stared at the kit. Nobody had offered her kindness in 18 months, not since the exile, not since her own people decided she was easier to blame than the commander who'd actually failed. She almost called him back. Almost. The next night, Nathan took his usual seat. The kit was back in his bag, untouched on her table, exactly where he'd left it. He ordered coffee, black from Hank the bartender. Started reviewing medical reports on his tablet. Didn't look her way. "You." Nathan glanced up. She was standing by his table, close enough that he could see the tattoos up close. Intricate patterns that looked like circuitry mixed with organic vines. Beautiful. Broken. "Yeah?" "Your kit," she gestured back at her table with her chin, not quite meeting his eyes. "Can you use it now?" Something in Nathan's chest that had been frozen for 3 years cracked just a little. He stood without a word, grabbed his kit, and followed her back to the corner booth. Her blood was different, darker, thicker. The wound was clean, though, deliberate, not an accident. Nathan cleaned it with practiced efficiency, hands steady even as his mind cataloged everything. Military scars, defensive wounds, burns that looked like energy discharge. And then her tattoos moved. Not much, just a flicker, a pulse of dim light that traveled up her arm and vanished somewhere under her shirt collar. Nathan paused, gauze half applied. "Does it hurt?" Her voice came out rough, unused. "Only when I remember." Nathan didn't ask what she remembered. That absence of curiosity was the first thing that made her trust him, the first crack in armor she'd worn so long it felt like skin. He finished bandaging in silence. She watched his hands, competent, gentle, no fear. "I'm Nathan. Thariel. No last names, no questions. Just 2 strangers in a bar who understood that sometimes silence was the kindest conversation." When he stood to leave, she spoke again, barely a whisper. "Tomorrow?" Nathan looked back, saw something in her dead eyes that wasn't quite dead anymore, just buried. "Yeah, tomorrow." Outside, Hank watched from behind the bar and made a note. The Vilary woman had spoken to someone for the first time since she'd started drinking away her nights, and the quiet nurse who never smiled had almost smiled. In Flagstaff, where refugees came to disappear, that counted as hope. Tomorrow became every night for a week. Nathan would finish his shift at the hospital, walk the cold Flagstaff streets, and find Thariel in the same corner booth. Sometimes she had new injuries. Sometimes old ones reopened. He never asked how, just cleaned, bandaged, and left. On the 8th night, she broke the pattern. "Sit." Nathan hesitated, then sat across from her, Kit between them like a treaty neither had signed. "You're a medic." Not a question. "Nurse, trauma unit." He paused. Was a medic, though. Army. Syria sector. Then Ganymede Station when the Callus conflict went hot. Thariel's fingers tightened around her glass. "You've seen war." "Enough of it." She studied him. Really looked this time. Saw the same shadows in his eyes that she carried. The same careful way he moved, like someone who expected the floor to explode. The same controlled breathing of someone who'd learned to function on the edge of breaking. "Your hands shake." She nodded at his fingers. He hadn't noticed. "PTSD?" "Burnout," Nathan corrected. "Different. Same symptoms, though." "Does it help, being here? Does it help you? Drinking alone?" They stared at each other. Then, impossibly, Thariel almost smiled. It looked painful. Out of practice. Fair. This time when he cleaned her wounds, she didn't flinch. She watched his hands move with the precision of someone who'd done this 1,000 times. Watched him notice things. The way certain scars formed patterns. The way some burns were too clean to be accidental. And then it happened again. The tattoos flickered. Brighter this time. A wave of bioluminescence that started where his fingers touched her skin and rippled outward like water disturbed. Nathan froze. What was that? "I don't know." Thariel pulled her arm back, suddenly frightened. "That's never happened before." "Never. Never. These marks, they respond to impact, kinetic energy. They're supposed to absorb force and redistribute it." She looked at the faint glow fading under her skin. "They're not supposed to respond to touch." Nathan's medical mind went into overdrive. "You're Vilary. I've read about your species. The kinetic absorption is biological, but if it's responding to non-kinetic stimuli, that means the neural pathways are hypersensitive, overactive. In human terms? Trauma. Your nervous system is so stressed that it's misfiring, reading everything as a threat." Thariel laughed. It came out bitter. "My whole body is a threat, after what happened." She stopped, looked away. Nathan waited, didn't push. The silence stretched comfortable between them. "I was a commander," she finally said. "Evacuation detail during the Threshold Offensive. We were moving civilians from a dying colony. Kids, families. The transport codes were wrong. My superior gave me bad intel. We loaded 400 people into a ship that was already failing." Her hand clenched the glass so hard it cracked. "It exploded in Atmo. I watched from the ground. Watched 400 lives burn because I followed orders." "But you followed orders," Nathan said quietly. "You didn't cause it. Tell that to the survivors. Tell that to my people. They needed someone to blame. My commander was too important. I was expendable." She drained what was left in the glass, ignoring the blood from where it cut her palm. "So they exiled me, marked me a failure, sent me here to Earth where nobody would remember my name." Nathan reached across the table, covered her bleeding hand with his. The tattoos flared bright, then settled to a soft pulse. "I couldn't save my sister," he said. 3 years ago, she came into my ER. Car accident. Critical. But there was another patient, worse off. I had to choose. Made the call. Saved the stranger. Lost Sarah." Thariel looked at their joined hands. That was the right call. Try telling my family that. Try telling myself that when I wake up at 3 a.m. and see her face. We're a pair, aren't we? Two people carrying deaths we didn't cause. Nathan didn't let go. The tattoos, they're reacting to me because you're not alone anymore. Your body knows it, even if you don't believe it yet. Across the bar, Hank polished glasses and pretended not to watch. But he'd seen plenty in his years, recognized the look of two broken people finding cracks that fit together. Outside, in an alley 3 blocks away, something hummed with stored energy. A small explosion, nothing serious. Just another power surge in a city used to them. But in a corporate office downtown, sensors logged the discharge, tagged the location, added it to a growing file marked Potential Asset, Vascor, Therial. Nathan woke at 2 a.m. to Sarah's voice calling his name. Same nightmare, different night. He was in the ER again, choosing between her and the stranger. Except this time, when he turned back, both gurneys were empty. Just blood and his sister's voice asking why he didn't try harder. He gave up on sleep, threw on clothes, and walked to the bar. Hank never locked up before 4, knowing his regulars kept vampire hours. But tonight, the back door was open. Nathan heard something crash in the alley. He found Therial on her knees, arms wrapped around herself. The tattoos were blazing, bright enough to hurt his eyes, pulsing erratic. Objects around her vibrated. A dumpster lid clattered. Glass bottles hummed and shattered. Therial. Stay back. Her voice was wrecked. I can't control it. Too much. I remembered the children's faces and now I can't make it stop. Nathan moved closer anyway, pulled out his phone, switched to timer. Breathe with me. 4 counts in. Hold 4. Out for 6. Can you do that? Nathan, I'll hurt you. Yeah, probably. Breathe anyway. He counted. She tried. The first few cycles, the energy spiked worse. A bottle exploded near his head. He didn't flinch, just kept counting. 4 in, hold, 6 out. Her breathing synced. The glow started to fade. The vibrations settled. When it was over, she was shaking. Nathan sat beside her in broken glass and city grime, not touching, just present. That's happened before. Twice a week, sometimes more. She wiped her face. I drink to slow it down. Alcohol dampens the neural response. That's not sustainable. No, but neither is this. She gestured at the destruction. Sooner or later I'm going to hurt someone, or the police are going to decide I'm a threat. Sooner, said a voice from the alley entrance. They both turned. A man stood there, late 50s, weathered face, Marine Corps tattoo on his forearm. I know you, the man said, pointing at Therial. Vascor, Threshold Offensive. You were the commander who killed those evacuees. Therial stood slowly. And you are? Miller, Corporal Miller. I was ground support during Threshold. Lost friends because of your incompetence. Miller. Nathan stepped between them. She didn't cause that disaster. Her superior did. That what she told you? Typical. Blame up the chain. Miller spat. I'm telling everyone. Let them know we got a war criminal drinking at Hank's place. See how long you stay comfortable. He left. The alley fell quiet except for Therial's ragged breathing. He'll do it, she said. By tomorrow, everyone will know. Then we deal with it tomorrow. Nathan offered his hand. Come on, let's get you inside. At the hospital the next day, Nathan's supervisor called him into her office. Director Chen looked tired, sympathetic but firm. Nathan, I need to ask about your association with a Veilari woman, Therial Vascor. His stomach dropped. She's a friend. She's under investigation. Interspecies police flagged her for multiple energy discharges. They're building a case. She has PTSD. The discharges are involuntary. I believe you, but the board is concerned. They've asked that you maintain professional distance, no fraternization with persons of interest in ongoing investigations. Nathan stood. Are you ordering me to abandon someone who needs help? I'm asking you to be careful. Your license is already under review after the corruption complaint you filed. Don't give them more ammunition. He left without promising anything. That night, Theriel wasn't at the bar. Nathan found her on the mountain overlook, sitting on a boulder, watching the city lights. "Miller kept his word," she said without turning. "I'm the talk of every veteran bar in town, the alien who murdered children." "You didn't murder anyone." "Does it matter? The story's better than the truth." She finally looked at him. "You should stay away from me. Your supervisor's right. I'm toxic." "No. Nathan. No." He sat beside her. "I couldn't save my sister. I can't change that. But I can choose to stay here, with you, right now. That's the choice I'm making." Theriel's eyes filled. "Why?" "Because someone should have stayed with Sarah. Someone should have told her she mattered more than protocol. And because you're not dangerous, Theriel. You're someone who failed, same as me, and we deserve better than drinking ourselves to death alone." The tattoos flickered. Soft, almost peaceful. "They're going to deport me," she whispered. "I got the notice today. 48 hours to leave Earth or face detention." Nathan's jaw tightened. "Then we have 48 hours to change their minds." "How?" "I don't know yet, but I'm not letting you disappear." Below them, Flagstaff glittered. Somewhere in those lights, forces were moving. The syndicate that wanted her power, the police that wanted her gone, the bureaucrats that wanted the problem solved. But on that mountain, two people chose each other. It was small. It was probably futile. It was also the most human thing either had done in years. The mandatory medical exam happened at interspecies processing. Sterile room, board technicians, forms in 17 languages. Nathan went with her because Theriel's hands were shaking too hard to sign her name. The tech taking vitals barely looked up. Elevated neural activity, consistent with combat stress disorder. Recommendation, psychiatric hold pending evaluation. "No," Nathan said firmly. "She has community support. I'm a licensed trauma nurse. I can monitor her condition." The tech glanced at him, shrugged. "Your call, but if there's another discharge incident, she's going to detention. No exceptions." Outside, Theriel stopped on the steps, looked at Nathan with something like wonder. "You just lied to a government official." "I didn't lie. I am going to monitor your condition." He took her shaking hand, held it steady. "You're not alone in this." The touch made her tattoos pulse gentle light. She watched it, mesmerized. They never did this with anyone else. "Maybe you never let anyone else close enough." A voice interrupted, young, hesitant. "Commander Voskor?" They turned. A teenage girl stood there. Vailari features, maybe 16, wearing a jacket covered in human pop culture patches. "I'm Sira. My family, we're from the Threshold colonies, the outer settlements." She looked at Theriel with something like awe. "You saved my aunt. The first evacuation wave, before everything went wrong." Theriel went rigid. "I don't... Please, everyone says you're dangerous, but my aunt told me what really happened, about the commander who gave false codes, about how you tried to stop the launch." Sirah stepped closer. "She said you were a hero. Your aunt is wrong. She's dead now." Sirah's voice cracked. "The colony fell 3 months after you evacuated her, but she lived long enough to tell me the truth." Tears started. "I just wanted you to know. Someone knows. Someone remembers right." Theriel's composure shattered. She pulled the girl into a hug. Nathan watched two Vailari refugees hold each other and cry on the steps of a government building, and something in his frozen heart thawed a little more. Later, at the bar, Hank poured coffee without being asked. "That girl came by earlier looking for Theriel," he said. "Sweet kid, reminds me of my daughter." He glanced at Nathan. "You're playing a dangerous game, nurse. Word's gotten around. You're the human who protects the war criminal. She's not—" "I know." Hank interrupted. "I was there. Threshold offensive. Different unit than Miller, thank God. But I heard the chatter. Heard about Commander Voskor trying to stop the launch. Heard about her superior, Velkoth, feeding her corrupted data. and then pinning blame on her when it all went to hell. Nathan leaned forward. Velkoth, you know his name? Everyone knows his name. He's here, on Earth, working for some corporate security firm. Made a fortune after the war. Hank's expression hardened. Theriel was expendable. He wasn't. That's how it works. The door opened. Theriel entered with Syrah. The girl was chattering about school, about human music, about trying to fit in. Theriel listened with the careful attention of someone relearning how to be a person. Nathan felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. That night, he tried cooking Valari food, used Syrah's handwritten recipe. The result looked like melted plastic and smelled like burnt rubber. Theriel took one bite and laughed. Actually laughed. The sound was rusty, but real. This is terrible, she managed. Medically terrible? Nathan asked. Criminally terrible. She was still laughing. Syrah joined in. Soon, all three of them were crying with laughter over Nathan's culinary disaster. Hank watched from the bar and smiled. The Cantina 1312 hadn't heard that much joy in months, but outside, in an unmarked car, someone took photos, logged the gathering, added notes to the file. Theriel Voskor was forming attachments. That made her easier to manipulate. And in a downtown office, a man named Velkoth read the report and smiled. He'd been wondering when his old subordinate would resurface. Now it was time to make sure she stayed useful. The offer came via encrypted message that night. Theriel read it 3 times. They want me to work security, private military contractor, good money, legal status guaranteed. Nathan looked over her shoulder. That's the syndicate. They want your abilities. I know. She deleted the message. I'm not becoming their weapon. Good, because I'm not becoming their leverage. He squeezed her hand. We'll find another way. But the next morning Nathan got the call. He was being suspended from the hospital, pending investigation into professional misconduct. The game was escalating, and time was running out. Nathan found her on the mountain at dawn. She'd been there all night, he could tell. Frost in her hair, tattoos flickering like dying stars. I'm going to explode, she said without preamble. The energy is building. I can feel it. If I don't discharge soon, it's going to tear me apart, and everyone near me. He sat beside her, close enough that their shoulders touched. Then discharge. I'll destroy half the mountain. So we make sure nobody's nearby. He pulled out his phone, called Hank. Can you keep people away from the North Overlook for an hour? Yeah, trust me. He hung up, looked at Theriel. Go ahead, burn. Nathan, I'm not leaving, so either you trust that I know what I'm doing, or you believe I'm suicidal. Either way, I'm staying. She stared at him, saw something in his eyes that made her own sting. Not pity, not fear, just absolute certainty that she was worth staying for. You're insane. Probably. Burnout does that. The first discharge came like lightning. It arced from her arms into the ground. Rocks cracked. The air hummed. Nathan's hair stood on end, but he didn't move. Keep going, he said calmly. Let it out. Another wave, stronger. Her scream tore the morning. The tattoos blazed white-hot. Energy rippled outward, and Nathan reached out, took her hands. The world exploded in sensation. His nerves lit up. Every cell screamed, but he held on. Felt the energy cycle through him, around him, back into her, creating a circuit, a loop. The tattoos synchronized. Their breathing matched. The chaotic discharge became something else. Controlled, flowing, almost peaceful. When it ended, they were both gasping, alive, whole. What did you do? Theriel whispered. I think I grounded you, like an electrical circuit. Gave the energy somewhere to go that wasn't destructive. She looked at their joined hands. The tattoos were glowing steady now, soft, content. This shouldn't be possible. A lot of things shouldn't be possible. Doesn't make them less real. Theriel pulled him close, pressed her forehead to his. It was a Vailari gesture of absolute trust, shared breath, shared life. "I don't deserve you," she murmured. "It's not about deserving. It's about choosing. I choose to stay." They sat like that until the sun cleared the mountains. Two broken people holding each other together. But the peace didn't last. The police came that afternoon, not to arrest, just to inform. There'd been an anonymous complaint. Thariel Vascor had allegedly threatened Nathan Hale. Attempted assault. "That's a lie," Nathan said immediately. The officer shrugged. "Maybe, but it's on record now, and given her status, we have to investigate." When they left, Thariel was shaking. "They're boxing me in, making it impossible to stay." "Then we prove them wrong." "But how?" Nathan spent the day calling contacts, pulling favors, trying to find someone who could help, and then Sierra showed up at his apartment with news. "I told my community about you and Commander Vascor, about what you did, the stabilization thing." Her eyes shone. "Everyone's talking about it? The human who can calm kinetic storms." "Sierra, that's not—" "It's hope, Nathan. Don't you see? If humans can help Vailari with combat trauma, then maybe we're not as broken as everyone thinks." The story spread faster than Nathan could contain it. By evening, 3 other Vailari refugees had asked to meet Thariel, asked if what Sierra said was true, and in a corporate office, analysts updated their file. Thariel Vascor wasn't just a weapon. She was becoming a symbol. That made her dangerous in a different way. The ultimatum came at midnight. Official notice from Interspecies Authority. Thariel Vascor had 48 hours to choose. Voluntary departure from Earth or criminal detention pending investigation. Nathan read the notice twice. "This is illegal. They can't deport you without due process." "They can do whatever they want to refugees." Thariel's voice was dead. "I'm nobody. I have no rights they're required to respect. You're not nobody. You're Thariel. You're someone who tried to save 400 people. You're someone who's helping Sierra heal. You're someone who taught me how to feel again." And Nathan grabbed her shoulders. "You matter, and I'm not letting them erase you." The tattoos pulsed, warm, responsive. "What do we do?" "We fight. Together." But as they held each other in the dim light of his apartment, neither noticed the drone hovering outside. Recording, cataloging, sending data back to people who saw everything in terms of assets and leverage. The syndicate was done waiting. It was time to collect their investment. The flashback came during dinner. One moment Thariel was laughing at something Sierra said. The next, she was gone. Eyes distant, breathing shallow. Nathan recognized it immediately. Combat flashback. He'd seen it enough times. Had them himself. "Thariel, follow my voice. You're in Flagstaff. You're safe. The colony is gone. You're here now." She came back slowly, blinked, saw them watching her with concern. "Sorry, I was back there, loading the transports." "Tell us," Nathan said gently. "All of it. Not fragments. The whole story." So she did. Started from the beginning. The evacuation order. The chaos. The families desperate to get off-world. Children crying. Parents begging. And Commander Velkoth handing her the transport codes personally. He said they were verified. Triple-checked. I trusted him. He was my superior. Her voice went hollow. "We loaded them. Families. So many children. The younger ones were excited. Thought it was an adventure." Sierra's hand found hers, squeezed. The transport launched, made it to low orbit. Then the reactor failed. Wrong codes had bypassed safety protocols. The ship was dying before it left ground. Thariel's eyes filled. "I watched it burn, watched it fall. 417 people. I counted every single name." "But you didn't cause it," Nathan said. "I should have checked, should have questioned, should have—" "You followed orders. You trusted your commander. That's what you're trained to do. Tell that to the families. Tell that to the inquiry board." She wiped her face roughly. Velkoth testified that I'd pressured him to use unverified codes, that I'd been reckless, ambitious, that I'd wanted the glory of a fast evacuation. And they believed him. He's a decorated commander. I was junior, expendable. The story worked better with me as villain. She looked at Nathan. I tried to fight it, tried to show the evidence, but it disappeared. Records corrupted, witnesses transferred. By the end, even I started to believe maybe I had been reckless. Nathan's hands clenched. That's gaslighting, systematic abuse. That's military politics. Siraj spoke up, voice fierce. My aunt knew the truth. She was ground crew. She saw Commander Velkoth delete backup files, saw him alter logs. She tried to testify, but they silenced her, threatened her family. The room fell silent, heavy with old grief and new anger. Finally, Nathan spoke. I need to tell you something. About Sarah. About why I really understand. He'd never told anyone the full story, but here, in this small circle of broken people, the words came. Sarah came in conscious, scared but stable. The other patient, the stranger, was coding. I made the medical call, prioritized the one dying faster. Standard triage. His voice cracked. But Sarah's injuries were internal, hidden. By the time I got back to her, she was bleeding out. I'd missed the signs, chosen wrong. You couldn't have known, Theriel said. That's what everyone told me. That's what the review board said, that I'd followed protocol. But my family? He laughed bitterly. They never forgave me, said I'd valued a stranger over my own sister. My parents haven't spoken to me in 3 years. That's not fair. No. But neither is what happened to you. Neither is any of this. We carry deaths we didn't cause, blame for choices that weren't wrong, and we've been carrying it alone. He looked at her. Until now. Theriel's tattoos glowed, warm and steady. We're both scapegoats. Yeah, chosen by people who needed someone to blame more than they needed the truth. The moment stretched, raw, honest, painful in the way that healing always is. Then Hank's call shattered it, his voice urgent. Nathan, get to the bar now. Someone's here asking about Theriel. Says he's her old commander. The blood drained from Theriel's face. Velkoth, he found me. They arrived to find him waiting. Tall, distinguished, every inch the decorated officer. He smiled when he saw Theriel. The smile didn't reach his eyes. Commander Vasakor, you look well. Earth agrees with you. What do you want? To help. I've heard about your situation, the deportation order, the instability. Such a shame. You were always so talented. He placed a card on the table. I'm with Titan Security now. Private contracts. Very lucrative. And I could use someone with your abilities. You mean, use me as a weapon. I mean, give you purpose, legal status, a future. His smile sharpened. All I ask in return is that you let the past stay buried. The threshold incident was tragic. No point in reopening old wounds. Theriel stood, tattoos blazing. You killed those people. You gave me false codes. You destroyed the evidence. You lied. I made a difficult call under pressure. You were the one who failed to verify. The inquiry agreed. Because you manipulated it. Prove it. He gestured around the bar. Go ahead. Try. You have nothing. No evidence. No credibility. Just the word of an exiled failure against a decorated commander. He leaned closer. Take my offer, Theriel. It's the only way you stay on Earth. Otherwise, detention, trial, prison, or worse. Nathan stepped between them. She's not working for you. Velkoth's gaze shifted, assessed, dismissed. The human nurse, how noble. Tell me, does she know what happens when her kind of power gets out of control? Does she know how many she could kill? She's not a killer. You are. I'm a realist, and reality is that Theriel needs me. He stood. You have 24 hours to decide. After that, I stop being generous. He left. The bar felt colder in his absence. Theriel sat down hard. He's right. I have nothing. No evidence. No proof. Then we find some, Nathan said. But they both knew the truth. Velkoth had won years ago, and he was about to win again. Theriel met Velkoth alone. Nathan had begged her not to go, but she'd seen the look in his eyes when Velkoth threatened her. The fear, the helplessness, she wouldn't let him watch her be destroyed. The meeting was at a warehouse by the old spaceport. Empty, echoey, perfect for saying things that couldn't be recorded. Velkoth was waiting, no pretense of politeness now. You came. Good. Saves me the trouble of making things more unpleasant for your human pet. Leave Nathan out of this. Why? He's the perfect leverage. So noble, so caring, so pathetically human. Velkoth circled her. You've always had this weakness, Theriel. This need to protect. It's what made you fail at Threshold. What makes you fail now? I didn't fail. You sabotaged me. I made a strategic decision. The colony was lost. The transport codes were compromised. Someone had to take the fall. He shrugged. You were convenient, and honestly you made it easy, always following orders, never questioning authority. No, you murdered 400 people to cover your incompetence. I saved thousands by preventing panic, by maintaining order, by making sure the evacuation continued smoothly. He moved closer. You're so focused on those 400 that you forget the 8,000 who lived, because I kept the operation running by sacrificing innocence, by making hard choices, something you've never understood. His expression hardened. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to work for me. You're going to use that power of yours to do exactly what I tell you. And in return, I won't destroy the pathetic little life you've built here. No. Then I destroy it anyway, starting with your nurse. He pulled out a tablet, showed her photos. Nathan's apartment, his route to work, his car. Accidents happen, especially to suspended medical personnel with questionable judgment. Theriel's tattoos blazed. You threaten him and I'll kill you. See, that right there? That's what makes you useful. That passion, that violence. He smiled. Accept my offer, or I make one call and Nathan Hale disappears. The rage built. The tattoos screamed. She could feel the discharge building, could feel murder in her hands. And then Nathan's voice echoed in her mind. Don't become what he says you are. She forced herself still. I need time. You have until midnight. Choose wisely. When she left, she didn't see Nathan crouched in the shadows. Didn't know he'd followed her. Didn't know he'd heard everything. Back at the bar, Theriel sat with Hank, trying to figure out a way forward that didn't end in blood. And then, the explosion happened. Not in the warehouse, in the bar, the back room, where Hank stored supplies, where he'd been 5 minutes before. The blast threw them across the room. Theriel's tattoos absorbed most of the impact. But Hank, God. Hank was bleeding. Badly. Call Nathan, he gasped. Tell him I recorded. Velkoth's confession, bug in his collar. Tell him he passed out. Theriel screamed for help. Customers scattered. Someone called emergency services. But when the police arrived, they found something else. Evidence planted in the debris. Detonator components. Valari tech. All pointing back to Theriel. You're under arrest, the officer said. Attempted murder. Terrorism. Use of military-grade weapons in civilian area. I didn't do this. Save it for processing. As they dragged her away, Sira ran up. Young face streaked with tears. Commander Voskor, how could you? Hank trusted you. We all did. Sira, listen to me. You brought this to us. You destroyed everything. The girl's voice broke. We should have left you alone. The words cut deeper than any weapon. Theriel stopped fighting. Let them take her. At the hospital, Nathan fought to get to Hank, but security stopped him. His suspension meant he couldn't access trauma units. He could only watch through windows as they worked to save the man who'd protected Theriel for months. Then the police came for him, accomplice to terrorism, aiding and abetting. Obstruction. In the holding cell, Nathan stared at walls and wondered how it had all fallen apart so fast. 48 hours ago, they'd had hope. Now everything was ashes. Theriel sat in her own cell 3 floors down. Tattoos dark, silent. The energy building inside her like a trapped scream. She could end it. One massive discharge, blow out the walls, disappear into the night. Take herself out of the equation permanently. It would be easy. It would be over. No more pain, no more watching people she cared about get hurt. She closed her eyes, started building the charge. The tattoos flickered. Warning, promise, goodbye. But then she heard it, distant, muffled through concrete and steel. Nathan's voice. He was singing, some old lullaby, the kind you sing to calm someone terrified. He was singing to her. Across 3 floors and locked doors, knowing she could hear, knowing she was breaking, the discharge faltered. The tattoos dimmed. She pressed her hands to the wall and wept. Above her, Nathan kept singing. Because sometimes the only thing you can do for someone is refuse to let them be alone in their darkness, even when everything else has fallen apart. Hank woke up swinging. Nurses had to restrain him until he remembered where he was. When he could finally talk, his first words were hoarse but clear. "Where's the recording? Did anyone find the recording?" The nurse didn't know what he meant, but the guard outside his door did, and the guard called a friend, and that friend knew someone in evidence. And by morning, a small audio file was making its way through very unofficial channels. It reached Syrah first. She listened once, twice, heard Velkoth admit everything, heard him threaten Nathan, heard the truth her aunt had died protecting. She played it for the Vailari community, for the veterans at other bars, for anyone who would listen. And slowly, the story changed. The police, meanwhile, found the real detonator. Not Vailari tech. Standard human explosives, military grade, traced back to a purchase made by Titan Security, Velkoth's company. They also found the bug in Velkoth's collar, Hank's insurance policy. The old Marine had known something might happen, had prepared. By noon, Velkoth was in custody. By evening, the charges against Theriel and Nathan were dropped, but damage had been done. The bar was destroyed, the community fractured, trust shattered. Nathan found Theriel on the mountain, their mountain. She was sitting at the edge, legs dangling over nothing, tattoos pulsing erratic. "Don't try to stop me," she said without looking. "I'm done fighting, done dragging people into my mess, done pretending I deserve to live." Nathan sat beside her, close enough to grab her if she jumped, far enough to give her space. "Okay." She turned, surprised. "Okay? If you're going to burn, burn with me. I'm not watching another person I love die alone." "Nathan, I love you. I should have said it sooner. Should have made sure you knew before everything went to hell. But I'm saying it now. I love you. Your trauma, your tattoos, your guilt, your strength. All of it. All of you." Her eyes filled. "I don't deserve that." "Nobody deserves love, Theriel. That's not how it works. Love isn't a reward for being good enough. It's a choice to stay when staying is hard. And I choose you, every single day, even this one. I'll hurt you. Yeah, probably. Love hurts, but loneliness hurts worse. And I'd rather hurt with you than be safe alone." The tattoos flickered, uncertain. She looked at him, really looked, saw the shadows under his eyes, the tremor in his hands, the way he held himself together with sheer stubborn will. "You're breaking too," she whispered. "We all are. But maybe that's okay. Maybe broken people fit together better because the edges match." Behind them, voices. They turned. Syrah was climbing the path. Behind her, a dozen others, Vailari refugees, human veterans. The bartender from the place down the street. the cop who'd arrested Thariel, looking sheepish. "Commander Vascour," Sierra called. "We heard the recording. We know the truth now, and we're sorry. We should have believed you." The cop stepped forward. Velkoth confessed. "Once we had the evidence, he crumbled. He's been trafficking ex-combatants for years, using them for illegal ops. You were just his latest target. He's going to prison." Another voice added, the prosecutor. "Multiple counts. He'll never hurt anyone again." Thariel stared at them. "Why are you here?" "Because you protected Sierra when she needed it," someone said. "Because you tried to save my brother at Threshold," another added. "Because that human nurse made us realize we'd been cowards," the cop muttered. "Guy got arrested defending you. Least we can do is show up." Sierra pushed through to the front. "And because I said terrible things. And I'm sorry. You didn't bring destruction to us. You brought hope. You showed us that even broken soldiers can heal." Thariel's carefully constructed walls crumbled. She sobbed. Great heaving cries that she'd held in for 18 months. And Nathan held her. And then Sierra joined. And then others. Until a dozen people were holding each other on a mountain, choosing connection over safety. When the tears finally stopped, Thariel looked at Nathan. "What do we do now?" "We rebuild. The bar. The community. Ourselves." He smiled. "Together, if you want." She touched his face. Gentle. Wondering. "The tattoos. They're not just responding to you anymore. I can feel. Everyone. All of you. Like you're grounding me." "Maybe that's what community is. Distributed grounding. No one person carrying all the weight." "That's a terrible metaphor. I'm a nurse, not a poet." Despite everything, she laughed. It sounded like hope. They descended the mountain together. All of them. A small army of broken people choosing to be broken together instead of alone. At the base, more were waiting. News had spread. The human nurse and the Vaylari commander were symbols now, of resilience, of stubborn compassion, of refusing to let trauma have the final word. But not everyone was celebrating. In a cell across town, Velkoth made a call. He still had assets, still had leverage, and he'd be damned if he let some traumatized refugees ruin everything he'd built. His final card was simple, brutal, effective. Take the one thing they'd gathered to protect, make them choose between Thariel and innocence. That night, Sierra didn't come home. The message was simple. Old spaceport. Midnight. Thariel for Sierra. Come alone or the girl dies. Thariel read it 3 times. Her hands didn't shake. The tattoos barely flickered. She'd gone past fear into something colder. Harder. "I'm going," she said flatly. "Not alone," Nathan countered. He said, alone. He also said he'd kill you at Threshold. He lies. Nathan grabbed her shoulders, made her look at him. "We do this together. All of us. That's the only way it works." She wanted to argue, wanted to protect him. But she'd learned something on the mountain. Strength didn't mean carrying everything alone. It meant letting others share the weight. "Okay, together." They gathered at Hank's hospital room. The old Marine was bandaged, but mobile, insisted on coming despite the doctor's protests. "Kid needs me," he wheezed. "Plus, I owe that bastard for blowing up my bar." The plan was simple. Thariel would go in. Nathan and the others would circle around. Hank had contacts in the police. They'd be nearby, but out of sight. Just in case. "Just in case it goes wrong," the prosecutor said quietly. "Velkoth's in custody, but he has associates. They might actually kill the girl." "Then we make sure they don't," Thariel said. The spaceport was abandoned. Rusted ships, broken tarmac, shadows on shadows. Thariel walked through the main gate alone, tattoos, dark, waiting. She found Sierra in the center of the old landing pad, tied to a support beam, gagged, eyes wide with terror. "Commander," a voice called. Not Velkoth, someone else, his second. the one who'd planted the bomb. You came, foolish but expected. Let her go. You have me. Oh, we're not letting anyone go. See, Commander Velkoth sends his regards. He may be locked up, but his reach is long. And his message is clear. You embarrassed him. Cost him his freedom. So now he takes everything from you. The man pulled out a device. Small. Humming. Recognize this? It's a neural disruptor, tuned specifically to Vailari biofrequencies. When I activate it, your tattoos will overload. You'll discharge everything, all at once. Probably level this whole spaceport. And that girl? She'll be at ground zero. No. Yes. And the best part? Everyone will know you did it. The traumatized soldier who finally snapped, killed an innocent child, proved everyone right about you being dangerous. He activated the device. Thariel's tattoos exploded with light, pain like being flayed alive. The energy built, too fast, too much. She couldn't control it, couldn't stop it. She screamed, and Nathan ran straight into the blast zone. Nathan, no! He didn't stop, didn't slow, just ran until he reached her, grabbed her hands, let the energy surge through him. His body convulsed. Blood ran from his nose, but he held on. I've got you, he gasped, not letting go, never letting go. The tattoos synchronized, found their rhythm. The chaotic explosion became a circuit, flowing between them, building but contained. It's too much, Thariel sobbed. It's going to kill you. Then we both go. Together. Remember? But they weren't alone. The others emerged from shadows. Sierra's family, the veterans, the refugees. They formed a circle around Nathan and Thariel, and they reached out, touched, connected. The energy flowed, not into the ground, into them, distributed across dozens of people. No one person bearing all of it. The community grounding the storm. Velkoth's second stared in disbelief. What? Hank punched him. The old Marine might have been wounded, but he still had one good arm. The disruptor clattered to the ground, shattered under his boot. The energy settled. The tattoos dimmed to soft pulses. Thariel collapsed into Nathan's arms. The police swept in, arrested Velkoth's associates, cut Sierra free. The girl ran to Thariel, wrapped around her like she'd never let go. I knew you'd come, Sierra whispered. I knew you wouldn't leave me. Never, Thariel managed. Not again. Not ever. Nathan sagged against her, exhausted, bleeding, alive. We did it, he murmured. You did it, you and your stupid human stubbornness. Our stubbornness. You taught me. He pressed his forehead to hers, the Vailari gesture, trust absolute. You deserve to live, Thariel. You deserve joy. You deserve every good thing. She kissed him, gentle, reverent. The tattoos glowed warm. Content. Around them the community cheered. Someone started crying. Someone else started laughing. Soon everyone was doing both. The messy, beautiful chaos of people choosing hope. In his cell, Velkoth got the news. His last gambit had failed. His associates arrested. His leverage gone. For the first time in his military career, he'd lost completely. And to a traumatized commander and a burnout nurse. The irony wasn't lost on him, but he was too busy processing additional charges to appreciate it. At the hospital later, Nathan woke to Thariel sitting beside his bed, her hand in his, tattoos pulsing gentle rhythms that matched his heartbeat. Hey, he croaked. Hey yourself, hero. Not a hero, just a nurse with terrible self-preservation instincts. My favorite kind. She squeezed his hand. They're dropping all charges. Velkoth's going away for life, and I've been offered asylum, permanent residency on Earth. That's good. There's more. The Vailari government issued an official apology. My exile is overturned. My record cleared. They want me to come home. Nathan's heart stopped. Oh, I said no. What? Home is here, with you, with Sierra. With this ridiculous found family we've built, she smiled. If you'll have me. Always. The tattoos blazed bright, joy made visible, and for the first time in 18 months, Theriel felt something other than grief. She felt home. 3 days later, Theriel woke in Nathan's apartment. The tattoos were different. Still there, still functional, but stable, the chaotic pulses replaced with gentle, steady rhythms, like a heartbeat that finally learned to rest. Nathan was asleep in the chair beside the bed, dark circles under his eyes, bandages on his arms from where the energy discharge had burned him. He'd refused to leave her side since the spaceport. She reached out, touched his face. He stirred, smiled before his eyes even opened. "Morning. You look terrible," she said softly. "You look alive. I'll take the trade." They stayed like that for a while, just breathing, just being. Two people who'd survived the unsurvivable. The news broke that afternoon. Velkoth had been formally charged with 417 counts of negligent homicide, plus trafficking, plus attempted murder. The trial would take years, but the outcome was certain. He'd never be free again. More importantly, the threshold inquiry was reopened. Every deleted file recovered. Every silenced witness found. The truth, finally, became official record. Theriel Vascour was innocent. Always had been. The Vailari government's apology came with an offer. Return home. Reinstatement. Full honors. A command position if she wanted it. She declined via video call. The ambassador looked shocked. "Commander Vascour, we're offering you everything we took. Why refuse? Because home isn't a place, it's people, and my people are here." She ended the call, turned to find Nathan, Sierra, Hank, and a dozen others watching. They'd gathered to help rebuild the bar. The community project had become daily routine. Sierra spoke first. "Commander, we've been talking about what you did, what you've been through." The girl's voice wavered. "We want to help others like us, refugees with combat trauma, people who need grounding." "A rehabilitation program?" Nathan added, "using what we learned, community-based trauma treatment, specifically for ex-combatants with enhanced abilities." "You want me to run it?" "We want us to run it. Together." He smiled. "I can't do the Vailari-specific protocols. You can't do the human medical licensing. But together, we cover everything." Theriel looked around the half-rebuilt bar, at the faces watching her with hope, with trust, with the kind of faith she'd thought she'd never deserve again. "Okay, let's do it." The program launched 6 months later. The Cantina 1312 reopened as a dual-purpose space, bar in the evenings, treatment center during the day. They called it the Healing Ground. The name was Hank's idea. He'd recovered fully, ran the bar side while Theriel and Nathan handled the medical components. Syrah became their first official trainee, learning both human and Vailari therapeutic techniques. The first patients were Vailari refugees. Soldiers like Theriel who'd been exiled for breaking under pressure, who carried powers they couldn't control and grief they couldn't process. Nathan worked with each one, patient, steady, teaching them the breathing techniques, the grounding exercises, the community circles where pain could be shared instead of hoarded. And Theriel showed them something more important. She showed them what healed looked like. Scars that glowed without pain, strength built from breaking, the possibility of becoming more than their trauma. One evening, Nathan found Theriel on their mountain. She went there sometimes, not to contemplate ending, just to remember beginning. "You okay?" he asked, sitting beside her. "I've been thinking about the 417, about how I couldn't save them, how that will always be true." "Yeah, but I've also been thinking about the 37 we've helped so far. The ex-combatants who came to us broken and left able to sleep, able to touch people again, able to hope." She looked at him. "I can't bring back the dead, but I can help the living. That has to be enough. It's more than enough." It's everything. Her tattoos pulsed. Warm, content. I still burn sometimes. The memories. The guilt. It doesn't just go away. Nathan took her hand. Then we burn slow, together, for as long as it takes. She leaned into him. They watched the sun set over Flagstaff. Two broken people who'd chosen to heal, not despite their scars, but with them, through them, because of them. "Thank you," she whispered, "for staying, for being stubborn, for seeing me when I couldn't see myself. Thank you for teaching me that broken doesn't mean useless, that healing doesn't mean forgetting, that love is choosing to stay when staying is hard." Below them, the city lights began to glow, the healing ground among them, bright and welcoming. A place where refugees could become people again, where trauma could transform into strength, where the question wasn't whether you'd been broken, but what you chose to build after. In the months that followed, their work spread. Other cities requested programs. Other species asked for guidance. The model of community-based trauma care became standard across multiple worlds. Nathan and Theriel trained others, shared their methods, but they always came back to Flagstaff, to their mountain, to the bar where it started with a simple offer. In case you need it. That's all. Sometimes that's all it takes. Someone choosing to stay, someone refusing to let you burn alone, someone seeing worth where everyone else saw waste. That's not weakness. That's not foolishness. That's humanity at its most powerful. The stubborn, irrational, beautiful choice to care when caring costs everything. And that's the thing about humans. They don't win by being stronger. They win by being kinder, by refusing to abandon, by choosing connection over safety every single time. Theriel had been a weapon, a failure, an exile. Now she was a healer, a teacher, a person who mattered, all because one human nurse decided she was worth a first aid kit and a quiet presence. The galaxy would never understand humans, their need to fix broken things, their insistence on hope in hopeless situations, their habit of turning trauma into triumph through nothing but stubborn compassion. But the refugees understood. The soldiers understood. The broken understood. And that was enough. On their mountain, Nathan and Theriel watched the stars emerge. Her tattoos glowed gentle rhythms. His hand never left hers. "Ready to go home?" he asked. She smiled. Real. Unguarded. Free. "I'm already there." They descended together. Two people who'd learned the hardest truth. That healing isn't the absence of scars. It's teaching them to glow in the dark, to guide others, to prove that breaking isn't the end. It's just the place where light gets in. And that's humanity's gift to the galaxy. Not strength, not technology, but the absolute, unshakable belief that everyone deserves someone who stays, even when staying is terrifying, even when the outcome is uncertain, even when all you have to offer is presence and a stubborn refusal to let go. That's the kind of strength that changes worlds. That's the kind of love that rewrites destinies. That's the kind of humanity that makes the whole damn universe look up and whisper, "Fuck yeah." In the end, Theriel and Nathan didn't teach us that broken people become whole again. They showed us that sometimes the cracks are where the human part finally leaks in. Healing isn't a victory march. It's two exhausted idiots on a mountain refusing to let go, even when every logical cell in their bodies is screaming, "Run." Humanity's power was never strength. It was the reckless cosmic audacity of choosing to stay. But here's the thing. If someone else's storm touched you, would you hold steady or step back to protect yourself? How many of your own scars still glow because no one ever taught you they weren't shameful? And when life forces you to choose between safety and connection, which version of yourself answers? So if you stayed to the end of this emotional demolition derby disguised as HFY, drop the word grounded in the comments. It's our small reminder that none of us were built to carry voltage alone. Tell me what city or galaxy you're watching from. Subscribe if you want more stories where humans save the universe with nothing but stubborn tenderness. hit like, hype the channel, share this with someone who might need a narrative jolt, and don't forget to watch the next video that's already glowing on your screen.